Hello, good morning. Welcome to Journeys. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle. Coming up this morning, Joy News premieres its much anticipated Hotline documentary, Empty Plates, as it delves deeper into the grim picture of inadequate food in many senior high schools and its attendant pressure on parents to adapt unorthodox ways of ensuring their wards don't go hungry.
This is maize infested. It was highly infested.
We'll bring you more details shortly. Also, President Akufo-Addo commits to strike a fine line between meeting the aspirations of Ghanaians and staying within the dictates of the IMF Year 3 program.
This year, I have to go to the people of Ghana to justify my period in office and seek their mandate for my successor as the leader of my party.
Plus, calls continue to grow for the Electricity Company of Ghana to publish a load-shedding timetable as Ghanaians continue to reel under the unstable power supply situation. And excitement fills the air at Joy FM's Eastern Camp Adventure Tour as patrons yearn for more. My name is Aisha Ryan. Do stay for details. Many thanks for choosing us. Joy News is premiering its much anticipated Hotline documentary, Empty Plate, the free SHS promise, later this evening, highlighting the acute shortage of food on many campuses across the country. The documentary presents a first-hand insight into the grim nature of inadequate food in the schools and how parents are forced to adapt unorthodox ways of feeding their wards. Here are excerpts of the investigative piece by my colleague Kwete Nate.
To the online platform I had infiltrated, I discovered numerous complaints from school heads about weevil-infested maize bags supplied, despite assurances from the free SHS coordinator that only a few bags were affected. My observations revealed several bags of maize being treated with neem tree leaves to ward off the pests. Given the critical food shortages, some school heads have conveyed to me their inability to discuss the contaminated maize as there's scarcely enough to feed the students.
If you look at here, I want you to take, I want you to take a view. This is maize infested. It was highly infested. So, someone advised us that we can use the neem tree. So yesterday, we put it outside. The boys put it outside.
And these were given to be fed to the children?
Yes, 3 stages. And so, they are there a lot. So I'm experimenting. So yesterday we spread it on the ground. We put the neem tree upon it. And we are seeing some reduction and that's what. But is this the work of headmasters?
The full documentary airs 8:30 p.m. on the Joy News channel. Right now, I've been joined by the ranking member on Parliament's Committee on Education, Peter Nochukotoy, and also on the other line is Dr. Peter Pate-Anti, who is an education economist and also executive director of IFES. Grateful for your time, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Mr. Nochukotoy. What's your preliminary observation, having listened to and watched excerpts of the documentary? Kindly unmute for me, Mr. Kotoy.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Kotoy, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, if you recollect, last year, I made some information available to the public that feeding our wards in the senior high school was problematic. Problematic in the sense that we were experiencing food inadequacy. We were also experiencing bad food stuff being given to our wards. I spoke about some tons of rice, which were about to go bad, then quickly rebagged and then distributed to senior high schools. The ministry came out to deny it, but it was a fact. And some school heads confirmed it, some did not. The situation as we find it now is very, very much appalling. And if nothing is done about it immediately, I don't know how into the future we are going to solve this problem. You see, we are only pretending that we are providing 3 square meals to our children. But it is not so. In some schools, they live on one type of meal the whole day. And I think government is not playing the role that is expected. One, the funds are not going to the school to enable school authorities to buy the complements, which they call perishables, to prepare a good meal for the schools or for the children. Then again, the food that goes even there, or the food stuff, is not enough. A school may be given only rice, and they will feed the children or make the children live on rice for a very long time. They will send maize, and they will not send beans. In fact, so the situation is so precarious that even when you say it, they say because you don't want the free senior high school to succeed. But that is not the point. We all agree that it is the way to go. But managing it, the implementation has been bedeviled with a lot of challenges. And that's why we are calling for just a review of the program and see how best we can make it last or get the best out of it for everybody. But if we are saying that we have all the wisdom as a government, so whatever everybody says, we will not listen, we will do whatever we can do, I don't think we are going anywhere. So your program, The Empty Place, I'm sure is a very good one, and it is making it known to the public, everybody, that all is not well with the free senior high school.
Dr. Pate Anti, you've had cause to complain about some of the challenges facing free SHS on this platform. Does this come to you as a surprise?
Martin, good morning to your viewers and listeners. This does not come to me as a surprise. In fact, I need to express appreciating gratitude to Joy News and the one who did the documentary for bringing these issues out. Some of us have been trying to get this documentary evidence for years now, and unfortunately, you go to the field and it's difficult for you to get because the teachers and the headmasters and those in charge feel that they are not in the position to do so, and they think that you will not be able to protect them at the end of the day. So when I saw this documentary, I was very happy, because now these are evidences to support the assertions that some of us have known for years of the fact that there's serious food crisis in our senior high schools, and that we need to take drastic measures to address these things. Not because anybody, as the honorable member said, anybody is against the policy, but because there are tremendous effects of these food shortages and nutritional challenges on the students, not in the immediate time, but in the short to long term. The students would have serious challenges, and if we don't look at it from that perspective and find ways and means to address it, we would not be doing these students any good. So I was not surprised. I was very happy, and I'm happy again that we have this documentary out. I wasn't surprised that the ministry decided to even preempt the content of the documentary. So I was asking my brother Kwesi but saying that why is he trying to preempt the content of the documentary by releasing the statements? And he gave me certain explanations. So I think that it is good that we are having this. We should have a frank discussion on it, and the focus should be to help the Ghanaian child get the best out of whatever policy that we are trying to implement.
Dr. Anti and Mr. Nochukotoy, I'll have you hold because we have to go urgently to the Finance Ministry. The Finance Minister is currently addressing us on our situation with the IMF.
Available to our continent. We are truly in an era where new innovations will continue to surprise. This presents us with opportunities to not only address long-standing challenges, but also unlock new avenues for progress, the likes of which our forefathers would never have imagined. From enhancing healthcare through drone-based delivery of medical supplies, or leveraging spatial data and precision farming techniques to enhance agricultural output for the 33 million smallholder farmers on the continent, the applications of AI are as vast as they are promising. However, we must acknowledge that the risk of immediate AI-related disruptions will be higher across the developing world if we are not readily equipped to harness the benefits of AI effectively. At the moment, there is demand-supply imbalance on AI skills across Africa. And to paraphrase from His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Digital Vice President of Ghana, in an article in The Guardian last year on the potential of artificial intelligence, and I quote, "It is critical that this AI revolution is driven by locally led solutions and brains, for we cannot sit back and wait for the rest of the world to read our rewards," unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the context within which today's discussions will be held. Ladies and gentlemen, around the objective in Ghana, we want to leverage AI to harness the ingenuity and talents of our people so we can build a self-sufficient, safe, and prosperous society capable of delivering jobs and dignified future for our people. We have seen pragmatic innovations in Ghana, such as the Ghana Card, mobile money interoperability, national digital addressing system, Ghana Gov platform for payment of government services, implemented by the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The Ministry of Finance is also exploring how to leverage AI in public financial management through automated budgeting, predictive revenue forecasting, and real-time expenditure tracking. Ghana and several other African countries are looking to collaborate with development partners such as the IMF, World Bank, and the Africa Development Bank, among others, to provide funding, technical and implementation support for AI projects, as well as the development of national AI strategies tailored to our unique needs. Let me use this opportunity to thank the Tony Blair Institute for their immense technical and logistical support in putting this conference together. Ladies and gentlemen, we are cognizant of the fact that, as tools, AI systems are fully under the control and responsibility of their owners or users. As such, we will aim to incorporate accountability, responsibility, and transparency principles and push for stronger and ethical regulation of AI systems. In truth, our continent has already proved its ability when it comes to technological developments, as seen with mobile money and internet access. Today, the World Bank suggests AI could potentially increase global GDP by up to 14% by 2030, with sub-Saharan Africa poised to benefit significantly. Viewed within that lens, AI technologies present a unique opportunity for Africa to accelerate productivity and reimagine its economic growth, which is more than ever vital for the welfare of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I believe that now is the time to seize the immense opportunities that AI presents to create a future where African innovation knows no bounds. I only ask that Governments, the private sector, development partners, and academia continue to prioritize working together to ensure we unlock an independent, wealthy future for Africa where technology removes the obstacles that preclude our people and indeed our nations from realizing our potential. I thank you and I welcome you, Akwaba.
That was Finance Minister Dr. Amin Adam explaining how the Finance Ministry and the country as a whole seek to leverage AI in our economic situation and also helping to redeem the economic crisis in which we are right now. We'll be taking you back to the Kempinski Hotel where there are a lot of speakers, including the IMF boss, Kristalina Georgieva, who will be speaking at this conference. Let me go back to our conversation on free SHS and the attendant problems affecting the food that is being served the children. Mr. Nochukotoy, you are in Parliament. You approved the budget for allocation to these schools. Do you know why the Secretariat has not been able to provide wholesome meals for the kids? Is it an issue with money? Mr. Nochukotoy? Do we still have Mr. Kotoy? Kindly unmute for me, Mr. Kotoy.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Kindly go ahead. We can hear you now.
Yes. Every year, as part of budgetary allocations, we, as a committee first, the estimates for the Ministry of Education are referred to the committee for the various agencies. And the Free Senior High School Secretariat comes under the ministry itself, and we approve budget. I remember last year, we approved 10 cedis, 10 Ghana cedis for every student, especially at the boarding level. That is what should be used to feed the students. But our information is that not all the 10 cedis goes to the school. Now, 70%, that is 7 cedis, is kept by the school, by the ministry, to buy the food items and supply to them. 3%, 30%, which is 3 Ghana cedis, is to be sent to the school. And as we talk now, for a very long time now, the schools have never received the full complement of the 3 Ghana cedis per student. A school that may have about 5,000 or 3,000 students, they will just give after about 2,000 students, and the balance does not go. Now, what we are asking for is the decentralization of the process of the procurement or supply of food items. Now, give all the 10 Ghana cedis to the school authorities for them to manage it. And if they are able to manage it, then you can hold them accountable or responsible for it. That has been as a minority, that has been our assertion. Give all the money to, once you are supplying the food items, how are you going to ensure accountability? And our information also is that the correct quantum of the food items are not supplied. The suppliers, because they want to make maximum profit, instead of about 100 kilograms, they will just supply maybe 70 kilograms, and that is it. That if, as a head of the institution, you want to look into it, somebody will just call you that if you're not ready to take the food items, another school is ready, so they take it unwillingly. So the problem is that I've been saying there's so much corruption at the Free Senior High School Secretariat. The food items don't reach the school in time. There's undercutting of the supplies that are made for people just to line their pockets with lots of money. So until we decentralize the supply of food items, I don't think we are going to find a solution to this problem. And then the financing. According to the Ministry of Education, they don't receive much from or early releases from the Ministry of Finance. Our checks at the Ministry of Finance also says it is not true. So we don't know who is telling the truth. The Ministry of Finance, when they meet us, they say, oh, they have released every money for the free senior high school because it is a flagship program of the president.
Right, so Nochu Kotoy is the ranking member on Parliament's Committee on Education. Right, so he's back. Mr. Kotoy, kindly unmute for me.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead,
Hello.
Mr. Kotoy.
Yeah, so I was saying that the Ministry of Finance, when we made them, bring money to education. So we are waiting to see who is speaking the truth. So that is the situation in which we find ourselves.
In some of the situations, in some of the schools that our cameras captured, we captured weave-infected maize being used to cook for the children. And then we also captured in some of the schools, we're hearing that there's rice that is meant for chicken, is a feed for chicken, but it also has been distributed to especially schools in Cape Coast to prepare for the wards. How or what does your committee intend to do to change the narrative?
Yes, as a committee, we have been able to Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Kotoy. You are loud and clear.
As a committee, we, as part of our activities or oversight responsibility, visited some schools. And what we discovered was that the school authorities were not ready to open up to us for fear that we will speak the truth and then they will be victimized. So they will tell you everything is okay, but when you interview students and other staff, especially even at the kitchen, they will tell you the real situation. And when we come back and we say, the minister will promise us, oh, all is well. We have done A, B, C, D. We have now even set up supply depots in all the regions, and the food is not going there in time and not in the right quantity as well. So until decentralization is done, local content comes in, the schools engage suppliers themselves, money is released on time, the situation will continue to be the same. And for that one, I can assure you that the ministry and whoever is responsible for the release of funds are not doing the best to make the program successful.
Mr. Nochu Kotoy, I'm grateful for your time, but we'll be monitoring how Parliament navigates this and gets the people responsible to respond to this challenge, urgent challenge that is facing our schools. Dr. Anti, I would have to let you go. Definitely in the evening, we have a date. We'll continue this discussion. Right now, I need to cross over to the Kempinski Hotel where Kristalina Georgieva, who is the IMF boss, is addressing the panel on AI, a catalyst to transform economies in sub-Saharan Africa.
In the green transition and in the adoption of artificial intelligence. We can see 3, 4, 5% productivity gain if we go forward with artificial intelligence effectively. So this is my first point. We desperately need something that would inject more dynamism in the world economy. Second, we also need to recognize that the scale of impact of artificial intelligence is gigantic. When we looked at the labor market's impact over the next years, in advanced economies, some 6 low income countries 26%. So this is like a tsunami hitting. We have to think how we can make the best out of it, prevent artificial intelligence instead of source of good to turn into a source of inequality, misinformation, deep fakes, distortion in our lives.
Thank you for that. And on the last point you made, at the bottom of your report, these 125 countries that you surveyed, it's quite interesting that the countries that are most ready, the Singapores, the Denmarks, the USs, they obviously will face a bigger risk, but they are readier. And then the poorer countries who have a lower risk for their labor markets are not that ready. What are some of the country-specific things that have to be put in place to move a country into greater readiness?
We identified 4 areas where progress has to be made, and different countries are in a different place with regard to those areas. Number 1, digital infrastructure. Without it, it is very difficult to capture the of artificial intelligence. What we know is that digital infrastructure is more advanced in advanced economies. We know that in Africa, on average, access to the internet is still only 50% of the population. Some countries do better, but some countries do worse. Second area, and to me, is the key for success: investment in human capital and in flexible, adaptable labor markets. When we look at countries that have strong, dynamic, agile labor markets and investment not in mechanical learning, but in learning to learn, ability to shift from one task to another, the Denmarks of this world, the Singapores of this world, they're better prepared. 3, innovation and how it fits into entrepreneurship. You can have research and development, but not feeding into the dynamism of the economy. And 4th, regulation and ethics. And what is so interesting to me is when we did our assessment of preparedness, the United States, that is way ahead in terms of advancing artificial intelligence, the so-called Magnificent Seven, the 7 companies that dominate are all in the United States, they did not come up as number 1 in this index. It was Singapore, followed by Denmark. What is in the United States still not quite there? It is actually human capital universally prepared for it, and then, of course, regulation and ethics.
Thank you very much for that, because that segues into my question for Minister Esler, because digital infrastructure is number 1 on the 4, and it appears to be what the Vice President, yourself, have been drumming home for the past few years. We didn't do that great on the list, but give us a sense of how Ghana, as a case study, is preparing for this AI revolution with your investments in digital infrastructure as an example.
And it's a pleasure to be on this distinguished panel as well. What have we been doing in the past 8 years, 7 years to prepare ourselves for the onslaught, which is staring us in the face? As you've indicated, digital infrastructure has been big on our agenda, and with the help of our development partners, particularly the World Bank, we've done a lot towards putting in place the critical underpinnings for our digital economy. It's important that we put in place our national ID system. We've done that. We needed a proper addressing system. We've put that in place. We needed to focus on digital financial services and in financial inclusion, and we've worked a lot. We've done a lot towards doing that as well. But absolutely critical to all of that, all these systems would have to work right on the infrastructure underpinning all of that. That's connectivity. And so we've worked with the private sector to extend the network of fiber infrastructure that we have in place. So I see what has happened in the past few days as a bit of a blessing in disguise to focus our attention on the need to invest even more in providing connectivity to all parts of the continent and our country, because it can help us leapfrog. And this is not just a cliche. We did that with banking when we didn't put in place the normal banking infrastructure but moved towards mobile banking. We've done that in a few other areas. And we can use digital infrastructure to transform the economies of the continent if we invest in putting them in place. We've put in place a government connectivity network with the support of the World Bank, which is nationwide. We intend
That was Esla Owusu, and also earlier you heard from Kristalina Georgieva, IMF boss, on artificial intelligence, how we can leverage that. Now, President Akufo-Addo says government will be cautious to strike a fine line between meeting the aspirations of citizens and staying true to the dictates of the IMF three-year program for Ghana as the country heads to the polls in December. Concerns about overspending during elections has become a worry, especially as the economy picks up. Interacting with the IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva at the Jubilee House, Nana Akufo-Addo says he will stay within budgetary limits in meeting the public expectations.
At the end of this year, I have to go to the people of Ghana to justify my period in office and seek their mandate for my successor as the leader of my party. So, and to some extent too, some of the issues that are involved in these phenomena, these statistics that you have reported, are intimately bound out with what is going to happen in December, and the need for us to try and make a balance between the rigor that we recognize as being necessary for us to be on a good place, and as well as making sure that the interests of our people are fully protected. The new Minister for Finance, you have met before, even though, but he's now stepped forward. I'm not quite sure he recognizes the full extent of the difficulties that are before him, but he has the courage of youth and the optimism of youth. But we've made these changes. Our new Minister of State designate, looking for the approval of the Parliament, is here, and very ambitious and intelligent young man who's a new deputy father. These are all the new arrangements that are there. The Ministry of Finance, who are working with your officials to get us that far, and the Bank of Ghana, of course.
Pressure is mounting on the Electricity Company of Ghana to publish a load-shedding timetable as many Ghanaians continue to bear the brunt of the unplanned outages. Despite government denial of a return to Dumso, they attribute these outages to faulty transformers caused by rising electricity demand. Former Power Minister Kwabena Donkor insists ECG and its affiliates must provide a load-shedding timetable. He says the absence of it is making an already bad situation worse. He spoke on Newsfile.
Even in labeling, if it was NDC, it was load-shedding. If it's another party, it's something else. I mean, let's be consistent.
We need a timetable.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are shedding in excess of 600 on some days during peak, in excess of 600. And the export, like Ben stated, the shedding of export, we don't even bring it in the picture. So if we were to bring the export in the picture, on some days we are shedding 800 megawatts.
Executive Director at ACER, Ben Boache, says the current unexpected power outages is disruptive. He believes a schedule will make it less frustrating for Ghanaians.
We have been in this space at some point, even 50 megawatt, we have demanded timetable. So for 300, 500 megawatt, it would be hypocritical for me to say that. I mean, the most importantly, if there's no timetable, what happens is that everybody else is at the discretion of gridco operators. So they sit in the control room like here, and they can see all the feeders in the country, and they have fun. This one goes off because I don't have enough. That one goes off. So they can decide that one place will go off multiple times because there's no plan for it. And that's what is happening. So gridco decides who should go off to save the grid.
Disrespecting the
because
customer.
Because if they don't take you off,
agree?
the entire system collapses, and they have to take somebody off.
Okay.
So
but
we need to have
in your
a
vocabulary, this is not doom so.
I mean, there's the problem. I mean, doom so, like once the light goes off and come on, I don't think we should be haggling about the description and how we.
Residents in Achimota are left questioning the response time of the Ghana National Fire Service following a devastating fire outbreak at chosen rehabilitation centers. According to them, despite multiple calls to reach out to the emergency service, the fire service arrived 2 hours after the incident. The community is demanding accountability and action to ensure the residents can feel safe in times of crisis.
The fire incident left both residents and staff shaking, raising concerns about their safety and well-being. The founder of the chosen rehabilitation center, Apostle Kobe Washington, says emergency calls were made to the fire service as soon as the blaze was detected, but waited for 2 hours with no response.
We started calling the fire service. Everybody in this neighborhood was calling the fire service because the neighbors really believes in what we are doing here. It's a very good project. Everybody, over 200 people told me that they were calling fire service, and knowing that there's a fire service not too far away from a fire service station, not too far away from us. And we were expecting them to come. When we called it, somebody would pick up and say, yeah, we are coming, we are coming. We waited almost 2 hours, and by the time they came, you know, we have been able to tame the fire, and we are calling on the government that they should remember that we've been doing a good job in this country. So this time that the low people also need the help from stakeholders. They should come on board. All helpers should come on board. Starting from tomorrow, we are trusting God that we can start digging and laying foundations, because now we've opened the gates. Most of our children are on the streets.
Prince Aniawo is a beneficiary of Chosen Rehabilitation Center. He explains that the incident has traumatized the patients who are yet to recover from drug addiction.
Once you can realize that we had been displaced when it comes to where we sleep. You also realize that our electricity had been cut down because of the fire outbreak. And also you realize rehabilitant, some of them went away. And this is really devastating when it comes to transformation. And also, the disaster yesterday kind of seemed to be traumatic. We who are still recovering as addicts, we who are still going through transformation. You know, these things doesn't augur well from transformation. Shocks like this, it really gets to us. Yes, and so I am highly of the view that chosen organization, which I am part of now, once it is the organization which is very phenomenal when it comes to transformation, I am of the view that donors and helpers who are touched to come to our aid should hurry in, because as it stands, we are left devastated. We really need help.
According to Sandra Saklika, a nurse at the center, during the incident, 71 patients were taking their medication, but none of them were injured.
Medication was almost due to be served, and we were hearing fire, 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 fire. So we stopped serving the medication and we rushed in to see. So when we came, there was smoke all over. So we were not able to figure out where the smoke was coming from. We are appealing to every individual, the society, organization to come to our aid. We are now in a dilemma. We don't know what to do. We want your support in cash and kind as well, and we open our arms to receive them gratefully and gladly.
As investigations into the cause of the fire still continue, patients and staff at the center are appealing to government and other stakeholders to come to their aid. Ramat Bashir's report, read to you.
The African Union is meeting in Accra from 18th to 19th to discuss ways to avert further unconstitutional changes of governments on the continent. The meeting, dubbed the Second Accra Reflection Forum, has been necessitated by the recent spate of military takeovers in Africa, which has led to the suspension of 6 countries by the Union. The following report has more.
The African Union says the forum is to renew commitment of stakeholders to rally for democracy as the continent is gradually being taken over by military juntas. Ambassador Bankole Adoye is the AU's Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security.
The African Union, over the past 3-4 years, has witnessed, as all of us have, the new trend, the emerging trend of unconstitutional changes to government. This anti-constitutionalism also has far-reaching implications for our development aspirations, nationally, regionally, and continentally, and of course with international implications. So back in March 2022, the Peace and Security Council, then under the leadership of Ghana, started this Accra process. The first reflection forum was held in March 2022 here in Accra to demonstrate a multi-stakeholder approach as the best way to address unconstitutional changes of government.
Chairperson of the African Union's Peace and Security Council says the Union has zero tolerance for unconstitutional change of government.
This second forum will bring together various stakeholders, as was said by Ambassador Bankole, and we are here to listen very carefully as to possible proposals, possible solutions as to how we can deal with unconstitutional change of government. Clearly, it is not, the suspension alone is not a deterrent, because we have noted that there are 6 countries that are currently suspended. It's a first in the African Union for so many countries to be suspended, and it is just important to bring together all stakeholders, women, youth, CSOs, government, private sector, academia. They will all be there, and we will listen carefully to them.
Since its last meeting in Accra on a similar discussion, there has been 2 more military takeovers. The African Union has since suspended 6 of its member states that have undergone unconstitutional power change. From the Ministry of Information in Accra, Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
We're still live on Joy News Desk. Let's take a break. When we return, there's business.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Procurement practitioners have been urged to stay away from corrupt activities. According to lawyer Professor George Kwashi, this is largely affecting Ghana's economy and needs to be addressed. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of a book entitled An Appraisal of Ghana's Public Procurement Regime, he said corporates should be prosecuted.
The book authored by Michael and George Kwashi called for an urgent review of procurement processes in Ghana. Mr. Kwashi said a stringent policy is key to ensuring value for money and accountability of government spending.
Many jurisdictions have tried to regulate the practice of procurement. This is because this is an area where large volumes of money is spent. And if you don't regulate it properly, then there'll be loopholes through which national revenue can see and that kind of stuff. Let's put it this way. The challenges facing procurement practice in Ghana basically hinges around single source procurement, in the sense that there are specific provisions in Act 663 which tells us how we are supposed to play and before one can use that method of procurement and that kind of stuff. But more often than not, procurement practitioners do not stick to this rule. They want to cut corners and all that kind of stuff. But if you are going to achieve the aim of value for money, then we need to treat these provisions very seriously. They must be enforced. We must not just take them as a series of suggestions. Oh, you may do this. It's not me.
The book, titled An Appraisal of Ghana's Public Procurement Regime, details key areas to be tackled to addressing procurement infractions.
Now, flagbearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, has promised to commit to promotion of women-owned financial institutions if voted into power. The move is one of the strategies aimed at bridging the financial inclusion gap. According to former president, available statistics have shown widening gender inequality despite growth in the financial sector. He was speaking at a meeting with some players in the fintech ecosystem.
The next NDC government shall bridge the gender gap in financial inclusion. It is worrying that the gender gap between females and males continue to widen, notwithstanding Ghana's level of financial inclusion. For example, according to the Global Findex report, in 2014, the financial inclusion gender gap was 3% more male access than female. That is even at the service end. I'm talking both at the service end and within the industry itself. This inequality gap increased to 8% in 2017 and went up again to 11% in 2021. This trend is unacceptable and needs urgent attention if we are to put Ghana on the path of sustained and inclusive development. Considering that women form almost 51% of the population and own about 44% of micro and small and medium enterprises, and constituting about 92% of businesses in Ghana, the exclusion from financial services could undermine our economic development efforts. We're also thinking to complement this to revive a women's bank. Remember, we had a World's Women Bank, and it has since collapsed. And so we're looking to bring a specialized bank that addresses this gender gap. Let me assure you that the next NDC government will promote women-owned financial institutions, focusing on women-owned businesses and promoting financial inclusion amongst them. It takes more than microloans to empower women-owned businesses and promote sustainable and inclusive growth.
And that's all for this segment. The news returns after the break.
And that's how we wrap up the bulletin this morning. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjournline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 12.